Welcome to video number 2. Before you give up on learning English, here are some things to think about. Today, I want to give you a word to think about. This is not a vocabulary lesson. The word I want you to think about is compare. In my youth, there was a very famous poster that was called Desiderata. And in Desiderata, one of the quotations was, "Do not compare yourself to others. You will become vain and bitter." So keep that in mind while I talk about this. What's the enemy about compare? Why is compare such a bad idea for an English learner? Well, the first instance I want to talk about compare is when you compare yourself in the classroom. Teacher passes out your exam papers. What does everybody do? They want to find out what other people's marks are. They try to compare themselves to others. What a stupid thing to do. You're hurting yourself. You find out John is better than you, Mary is better than you, Fred is better than you. You're the lowest one in the class. It makes you feel terrible. Why do you need to do that? You're not competing against other people in the classroom to get a better grade, believe it or not. You're really competing against yourself. The comparison should be, did you improve in the class? When people run marathons, they're not racing against other people. They're actually racing against themselves. If you can run a marathon in 4.5 hours, maybe you compete so that you can do it in 4 hours. Competition is between you and you. Likewise, when you're learning English, the comparison should be, how well did you learn in class? What did you learn in class? How much did you learn in class? Not, oh, someone did better than me. So stop that, because you're really hurting yourself by comparing. Now, outside the classroom, you do the same thing. Many of my students say, I would like to speak like so-and-so in the movies. Well, if you want to speak like so-and-so in the movies, act like so-and-so in the movies. Script what you're going to say. You know that actors don't really speak that way. They're just practicing their lines. They're just giving the script. They've memorized the script, and now they're saying the words in the script, but they act as if they're speaking in real life. It's just a good acting job. They don't really speak like that. If you don't believe me, go to the Academy Awards and watch their acceptance speech. They stutter and stammer and mutter through their speech, even if it's only a 2-minute speech, because that's the way they normally speak. The next word I want to introduce you, which is related to compare, is wannabe. And it's like what I was just saying before about an actor or a famous speaker, or maybe your English teacher. You want to be like them. In English, that's called a wannabe. Wannabe is a squashed word for want to be. And you want to be like them. You want to speak like them. You want to act like them. You want to look like them, maybe. I don't know. Maybe they're your idol. So when a person is a wannabe like someone else, you've really made them this high, and you've made yourself this low. So it's kind of an unfair comparison. You've made them into an idol. It's one thing to have a person be your model, be your example. That's a good thing. But don't make the person be your idol where you worship them. That doesn't help you, because they're so far up and then you're so far down. That's a really bad thing. It's another form of comparison. I've saved the best for the last, or the worst for the last. And as I said in my previous video, we are the enemy, and it is us. We are our own worst enemy. Many times when you're learning English, you compare your English ability, particularly your English speaking ability, to your native language ability. And that's really an unfair comparison. How many years have you spoken your native language? And how long have you studied English? Oh, one more caution. When you say, I've studied English for 15 years, don't lie to yourself. If you studied English in school, maybe you studied 2 hours a week for 50 weeks, so that's like 200 hours times 15 years. That's like maybe 300 or 400 hours. In those hours, maybe 10% was devoted to speaking actual English. The rest was grammar drill and reading, things that were not used to speak English. Altogether, you've probably had, if you went to school for 15 years, you've had about 30 hours of exposure to spoken English. So when you say, well, that's why your spoken English is not good. It's not because you've studied for 15 years and still can't speak. It's because you studied for 30 hours and can't speak. So really, be fair in your assessment to yourself and stop that comparison. So don't compare yourself to others, and mostly stop comparing your speaking ability to your speaking ability in your native language. One way you can really break this habit of comparing is self-study. Self-study is the proven way to really effectively train yourself in anything, including spoken English. It takes a little more effort to do self-study, but the effect is much better and much greater. And you can't compare yourself to anybody else. You don't have other classmates. So that's a good thing. It's a positive thing. So compare. Stop comparing yourself. That's the idea we want to give you today. And also consider self-study. It's more powerful and it's more effective. That's another reason not to give up. You can do it.